Oh, well, hello, world. Welcome to Comic Book News. I'm your old pal, Dan Shaheen. Today, Million Dollar Mailbox, number 11. This is the 11th time we've done this thing. I can't believe the humongous box of comic books that I have right here that I didn't spend a nickel for. Not even postage. Like, you people sent it to me. We're going to look today at the works of, we're going to look at Beardzzerker by our old pal Don Chin. He's been on the show before. And we're going to look at the works of Shlepzig, another guy who's been on this show. They both sent me in really cool books, different and cool and good in different ways. So we'll talk about the differences between them. And I will tell you which one I like better. It's not by much, but one of them edged out. So we'll talk about that. Of course, it's not just me. When I say we, it's not the royal we. I got Larry Young, publisher of AIT Planet Lair. I always want to say Planet Lar, but it's Planet Lair. And a buddy, we host Serious Star Trek on Fridays. It's Larry's show all about Star Trek that I'm helping him produce and engineer a little bit. Check us out there with John Price, PhD. We talk about not just Star Trek, but science fiction also in general, but with a focus on Star Trek. And what else do we do? Oh, man, this is just where I get to do all my wackiest of wacky special effects that don't quite fit into the comic book context. So that's fun. But let's get to comics. If you want to see your comics here on this show, where do you send it? Right there. Million Dollar Mailbox, P.O. Box 1163, Arcata, California, 95518. Send it to me. We're going to spread it out. We're going to look at it. We're going to give you the real God's honest truth about what I think about it. Oh my gosh, who have I got coming up now? So I've pitched before. By the way, if you haven't already, please consider hitting subscribe. If you like this video, click the thumbs up. If you don't, click thumbs down, but maybe leave a comment. Let me know why. Coming up on this show soon. Both of these guys have shifted and we've moved into March, but I'm going to be talking to Paul Levitz. That's going to be a lot of fun. But believe it or not, I'm really probably even more excited to talk about Mike Richardson, who I think is one of the most important names in comics that there is, like indie comics, mainstream like Dark Horse is what it's all about. We'll talk to the Dark Horse himself, Mike Richardson. That is going to be awesome. But now let's bring in let's go talk to Larry. But where are we going to do it? We got to go somewhere else. We can't do it here. We got to take it to a more appropriate venue.
To the bat post.
Larry, what's happening, buddy?
Hey, Dan. Good to see you. Man, every time I see that Shakespeare bust and Adam West going to the bat poles, I just feel 6 years old again.
I'm glad you mentioned that, Larry, because I found those 3 frames of animation of that head by a professional, like Warner Brothers animator. He had done it. He put it on his website. I asked him if I could use it. He said, well, technically it belongs to Warner Brothers, but whatever. Who's going to know? And he let me do it. And we animated it and did all that good fun stuff. And
that's great. Who's going to know? Oh, I don't know. Let me put it in my credit sequence.
Who's going to catch that and be like, that is a property of Warner? I don't know.
Yeah.
It was actually screen used. It's a screen used prop in a Batman. I don't know which Batman, but one of them.
Well, I love collecting those props and replicas. And I had just started getting into it when they did this weird semi-licensed full-size version with switches that you could wire up to something. And so you could open it up.
Oh, yeah.
Open your garage door or something.
Oh,
and it was like $200 and it was turn of the century, right? And So $200 that's like 350 now. It's just on the outside of like I can explain to my wife,
Yeah.
And so I'm like, that was just kind of like, now I would buy that instantly. Like, oh my God, we'll never see this again.
Yeah, totally. For me, I would just write it off as a business expense. It would totally fits into my
20 years ago, that was, I could get away with that now, but 20 years ago, that wasn't happening. I just got my Dave spacesuit from 2001. So speaking of business expense, it's a decoration for my office. So.
Okay, I'll out of nowhere, I've been wondering this, Larry. You collect the screen used stuff, right? Has that stuff seen the huge collectability spike that we've seen in other segments of collectibles recently?
Wow, that's a really good question. I mean, it's my feeling that it's gone up like everything, but screen used and even like really high end replica stuff is kind of bulletproof, because the market of people that are interested in that and can afford it is kind of small. Like I have 6 or 8 spacesuits now. I kind of even forget. And it's, if somebody's selling a spacesuit, like chances are super high that they'll contact me and see if I want it, because I'm the spacesuit guy. Like there's tons of other people who collect spacesuits, but if you have one that's like around $3 to $5 grand, email Larry and see what he says. Like now that I got my Dave suit, like I kind of have an example of all of my favorite spacesuits. So if it's, I mean, obviously the 2001 suit is not screen used, but oh my God, it's perfect.
What's the Grail of spacesuits, or do you have it?
That would be it. Dave Bowman, the red suit from 2001. I've been working on that for 10 years. So yeah, I got, actually the guy who's making is a guy named Mike Scott. He's awesome. And he does lots of cool replica things. He like reproduces like Rocketeer handles and stuff like that. But he soups up TVs from the 50s, like Electrolux looking TVs.
Yeah.
That's his real job. And he made a helmet in 2009 or 10, and I got his second one. And the first one he gave to Keira Dulier, the guy who plays Dave. So I got the second one. That's how long I've been in on this.
Sweet.
And then like every 5 years, he's like, "Need it? You want a chest pack now?" And I'm like, "Yeah, man, give me the chest pack." And so we finally completed the suit. It's great.
You got Rocketeer stuff too, right, Larry? That's really.
I have. There was a company called Master Replicas that did a lot of high end replicas, and I have the brass Rocketeer helmet that they did. And I've had it so long, and it's sat kind of in the sun that the brass is oxidizing in the sea air, because I live on the beach, and it looks almost better than it does in the movies. Because I was
about to say that's probably even cooler, right?
Like, you look at it and you're like, oh man, you like took this off the Rocketeer's head, didn't you?
Well, because he used it in the 40s or whatever.
Right. So, that's what it looks like. That's been sitting around for a while.
Okay, Larry, we got 9 people watching. One of them, including Don Chin, creator of one of these books. So what do you say we dive into the mailbox?
Yeah, let's look at the books.
All right, let me
get that $1 million mailbox cam going.
How do we make this happen? Like this. $1 million mailbox. Papow! Welcome to the $1 million mailbox, folks. Welcome back.
Oh, that's the stuff.
Okay. Today, good stuff. Oh, Don Chin in. Don, maybe we'll bring you in here if you want to come in. Don, you want to come in? Or Sam. But first, we were going to talk about your books, maybe, and then you can decide whether you want to come in or not. It's going to get brutal. Nah, I'm just kidding. I love
you. I know you talked to Don once. I remember Don checked in and we talked to him because I got to give him all that love that I have for adolescent radioactive black belt hamsters.
If that's the only thing Don ever did, he's in my heart, right? Like
it's just so rare that you can parody a parody and make it a cool thing.
Yeah, they really did. I mean, he did a great job. Don's choice of co-creators that elevated that. I really think he worked with such incredible. I mean, he worked with Ty Templeton on one of those books. So
I did not know that. That's awesome.
Yeah, amazing.
That had to be before Ty was like a going concern, right?
I think so. Well, but he was already. If you look at it, it's as good as anything like Ty.
Oh yeah. No, I meant like why I don't know that, because I was
right.
I was working in a store when that came out, and it's like, I think if I'd known who Ty Templeton was, I would totally remember that back then, you know.
Okay, let's take
Anyway.
a look at Beardzzerker. Okay, so Don Chin, ever the savvy marketer, right? This Beardzzerker, the Keanu Reeves crowd-funded comic from, I want to say that it was Boom, not IDW. I think it's Boom. Became like one of the best sellers ever, just because they hyped it so well. It became one of the best-selling comic books, certainly of the year, and maybe of all time. Like hundreds of thousands of copies moved. And so Don, ever looking at the trends, same thing he saw when he saw the Turtles, and he's like, I'm going to make my move. I'm going to strike while the iron is hot. Went for the Beardzzerker parody comic. Now, I believe this was in the, created and in the works before Beardzzerker even officially dropped. I might be wrong. We'll ask Don about that, because it doesn't seem so much like a Beardzzerker parody, because I wouldn't even know what that comic is. I've never read it. But it is quite the Keanu Reeves parody. So we're going to get a lot of Bill and Ted jokes. We're going to get a lot of Matrix jokes. I was sad that there were no sad Keanu meme jokes. Don, I feel like you missed an opportunity, unless you snuck one in that I missed. But to go along with the theme of this show, because later on in the show, we're also going to talk about, after we get through this silly stuff, we're going to talk about Art Spiegelman's Mouths and the controversy around it. But connection, art by Bill Mouse, no relation, and colorist Cat Mouse. Now, Bill is a longtime collaborator with Don. And I'm just going to say, writes solid, funny, or draws solid, funny comics, right? Like his style is perfect for a humor parody style book. This is not this is not what you would expect in a modern like superhero book, but looks fine. It's straight out of like maybe Mad Magazine or like Cracked, maybe. And we've got just every goofy character from every Keanu Reeves movie. Tons of Matrix jokes, tons of Bill and Ted jokes, tons of like rocker jokes, a lot of rocker jokes. Bill's driving right now. Don's watching right now. Bill's driving. I told him not to crash and watch the stream. So I'm going to say Bill Mouse.
My last name is not Mouse, and if I was driving, I would crash if I heard you say no relation to the Pulitzer Prize-winning novel in the news. That was a good joke that we didn't give it the laugh it deserved.
You got to let it breathe a little sometimes. So anyway, a super fun read if you're into this. Here's my quibbles, Don. I'm going to get real. So like, they're all old jokes, right? It's older jokes. Yes. Okay. So even Don's saying it. Larry might appreciate the MTV generation jokes. So this is not.
I want mine.
It's not for the kids. This is not for today's youth, because they're not going to get most of these jokes. But if you're me and Larry and you live through all this stuff, through all these great Keanu movies and moments, you're going to tell you,
my kid is 14. And if he didn't have me as a dad, he would only know Keanu Reeves from John Wick. So,
and there are John Wick jokes.
So, like, I get how, like, if you're gonna hang something on Keanu Reeves' career, like, you're missing the Fortnite PS5 generation.
I mean, we've got Prince in this comic, so like, if we don't know that we're dating ourselves a little bit, and.
That's great.
It's just full of, these are reference jokes, most of them. It's like, here's a line you remember or a thing you remember in a different context. It's goofy fun.
I love that you're saying, oh, this art is like it being Cracked or something. Like this art is great. That's an awesome panel of Prince.
Oh, that's right. I mean, that's a compliment to me. Cracked or Mad? I don't think.
But you said you wouldn't say that. See this in modern comics, and I was like, what? Really? We need more of this in modern comics. The color's great, even when you just show two-page spreads like that. Like your eye just soaks it up that, oh, this is cool. Something's happening.
Agreed. Yeah. I like it's Cat Mouse, I believe, is the name of the colorist. I think it's Bill's daughter.
Awesome.
and she's using a lot of textures, a lot of bright colors. It's that that I agree with you. This is what I look for in coloring overall. Is I try to like look back from the book and sort of blur my eyes and see the whole thing, and then go focusing on the individual elements. She's good with interesting using background textures. It's a little hard to see. You know, some of the flashier Photoshop style coloring tricks. Where's my finger? It's in here somewhere. Yeah, there we go. It's hard to make out on in this mode. But
the Dan Shaheen show, where's my finger?
Okay, now here's Larry. Now we're gonna get to the nuts and bolts, though. Okay, let's keep going. I don't want to give away all the jokes or anything like that, so I'm gonna just keep going.
I love that. That's some top shelf stuff. That's high quality.
I'll show you some of the promo stuff. So there were seven variant covers to this thing. Okay,
wow,
including I believe this is the Ethan Van Sciver cover, and we've got another one with the Ethan character, Rainbow Brute. Don is an avowed comics gator, so I would love to have Don come in here and just talk about it. I read this book, and there is nothing really sexist, racist, homophobic, or anything like that the comics guys sometimes get a bad rap for. I will say that it's the overall stated philosophy of Comicsgate that just confuses me, and I'm really not a fan of, but I'm a fan of Don. I like Don, and I would love to have him in here and talk to it sometime. I'll send Don the link. I will send Don the link because I love
it. I love that you saved that. You were like, I thought you were going to say the Comicsgate guys who are known for their homophobic and racist, and you were like, you seemed like you were heading down that highway, and I was like, hey, really?
No, I don't. You know, I think
you saved it. You saved it. That was great.
Well, I think that's the rap that they get. I will say that the avowed, like, stated goals of saying Ethan Van Sciver, like, just talk about sex, are very sexist. Not so much I don't see a lot of racist, although I did during my interview with Ethan. Somebody spent $12 to spell the N-word one letter at a time in super chats.
Holy crap!
So that doesn't give people the best.
That's the thing. Like, I don't know anything about this because I don't care. I don't care about your politics. All I care is, I used to say this when we were publishing. It's like, people are like, oh, you have such a diverse crowd. And I'm like, yeah, but here's the thing. I don't care. The only color I care about in comics is green.
Bingo.
And so, like, you know, I guess it's cool if you want to bring politics in it, but then that may make your audience grow bigger, but it also limits your audience in a way too. So, like, that's why, whatever. God bless them.
Well, this is definitely, there's no politics per se in here, unless it's like, I don't know, studio politics about crappy movies maybe, but like, there's definitely no politics in this book. And that's that's supposed to be the idea, that it's politics free. But here's where I'm going to get political. I don't know if it's political. I'm going to complain about the $15 price tag on this thing. Holy moly. It's
for a floppy, huh? How many pages is that?
For a floppy, yeah, I can't. Wait a minute. Here we go. For a floppy, $15 is a bit steep. However, there's a saving grace here because I'm a fan. I'm a sucker, actually, for tchotchkes and stuff. And so Don threw in a bunch of the freebie stuff that started to make up for, I thought, oh, wow, the cloth bookmark. I like a lot, although I don't know that it's specifically branded to this or not. It just says Rockstar on it. That's pretty cool. I like that, but it didn't put it over $15 for me yet. Oh, wait, Don Chin live. Don. Yeah, Don, welcome, buddy.
Hey guys.
Don.
We're ripping you to pieces right now, Don. No.
Good morning.
That is a sharp shirt. I love Hawaiian shirts.
Thank you.
I'm going to tell you the truth here, Don. $15 I thought was steep. Then I saw the bookmark. Then I saw the trading cards. I'm not a trading card guy. But then, wait a minute. I saw the die cut sticker. Okay. I got a little happier. But then and then it wasn't until I dug through the bag, Don, and I pulled out what might be my favorite promotional item I have received yet. The guitar pick. Okay.
I'm out of those now. You got a collector's
item right here, the Beardzzerker guitar pick featuring our boy Keanu, or whatever you call him. This put me over the top, and I said, if I got all of this stuff for $15, then maybe I'm okay with the price. But tell me, how many pages is this, Don, and what goes into setting the pricing and the tiers? Tell us a little bit about the Kickstarter campaign since we got you in here.
Yeah, we actually were exclusively on Indiegogo for Beardzzerker, as well as the earlier X-Farce Reloaded. Well, X-Farce Reloaded was 64 pages. You know, it came out about a year ago, and it was full color, and that's a $25 price point. So because Beardzzerker is only 32 pages, you know, my wife and I felt like, let's try to make it a little more affordable. So we had it a $15 cover price. I think our campaign price was like $20 plus shipping, and all the stuff that you got, all that swag stuff, those were all stretch goals. So as we, you know, as the money came in, we would unlock these stretch goals, like the bookmark and the sticker, the trading cards, and the guitar pick, I think, was when we hit 7,000. The campaign made, all told, around 11,000 is what we're at right now. So the guitar pick was at 7,000. We were going to throw that in.
How many pages was it, Don?
32.
32, right? Okay.
Full color, and it's all, you know, nice glossy, kind of like Baxter paper stock. We didn't print it on newsprint, or, you know, we didn't
get stickers. How can you hate stickers, man? What kind of soul can you have that hates stickers? I don't understand that.
I was thinking that. I see Eric going by like, I hate stickers. I was like, really?
Who hates stickers, my man? Come on. You got no.
They're popular. They're popular to put the Cat Stevens sticker on the water bottles. That seems to what people are doing. They're putting this guy on their water bottle.
I early up at top of the show, we were talking about movie props, and I have a Yeti that's just covered in random stickers. And every once in a while, I will look at it and go, man, if this gets used in a movie, like, people will lose their minds trying to make a replica of this, because it's just stickers from anywhere, right? There's no way you can do it. So yeah, man. I got to get one of those stickers. Is there a way to get that?
I got to hit you. I'll send you a comp copy, and you can review it. Yeah, I'd be happy to. You're a kindred.
Thank you, Don.
Hey, Don, maybe you could do a quick promo for the $1 Million Mailbox. Why don't you can you improv for me? Wait a minute. I'm going to solo you, and you tell people where they can do this thing.
With or without glasses. I think I look more intelligent with the glasses.
Yeah, you do. You do.
All right. So what do I say, Dan?
Just tell the people where they can send their books, Don, and why it's so great to be on the $1 Million Mailbox.
All right. Hey, everyone. This is Don Chin, Parody Press publisher, longtime comic book writer and producer. I would love for you guys to send your books in to Dan's $1 Million Mailbox. He does great reviews. He's fair. And I think you will enjoy watching him talk about your comic books like I do. So do it.
Awesome, Don. Thank you so much. Hey, Don. Okay. So let's get real for a second. We're friends, right? We're not
far.
You'll be a better friend when you buy a house from me. So,
we should talk. I'm in the market. But so let's talk about Comicsgate a little bit. Just talk about the realness. Let's get real with it for a second here.
All right.
So you told me in our last interview, I didn't even realize you were a Comicsgate guy, right? Because there's no Comicsgate logos. You don't talk about that stuff explicitly a lot, but you said, yes, I am. And so I'm not going to judge you and say, because obviously, well, I don't think you're a racist guy. I don't even think that you're a sexist dude from any of the stuff that I've read that you've written, right? Like your stuff, like I don't see much politics and I just see funny. Don wants funny jokes. But yet you've sort of thrown in with this group that does have certain views that like I gotta like push back against. Comics are for everybody. Girls like comics. There are lots of great, it's those kind of things that push me away from the name, the brand Comicsgate. But I don't, like I said, I don't see that in your work per se. So why don't you explain to me why you've thrown in? Because from the outside, the cynical me says because it's a great way to move comic books, to push books.
Yeah, that's a complicated question because I think there are degrees of people that I think the public perception of Comicsgate is one thing, and then when you're actually part of the community, it becomes something different. So I really wasn't familiar with what the whole debate was until I started watching Ethan. And at the time, Ethan and I were working on a project together, which was a Cyberfrog Hamsters crossover that Dynamite Comics was going to publish. And so I was really excited because, as you guys know, Cyberfrog is probably one of the biggest titles out there. And so
we reviewed it.
Yeah, we were working on what was supposed to be like a one-shot crossover between them because they both came out like in the late 80s, early 90s, and they're funny animals with with cool powers. And we wanted to do a revival because the Hamsters hadn't been really around since like 2007 or 8 was the last miniseries that Dynamite
and
did.
You no longer control the rights to the Hamsters, just to be clear, right, Don?
That's
you
correct.
Sold those to Dynamite Comics.
That is correct. So so what happened was the publisher Nick Barucci of Dynamite, he was hanging out on the streams with Ethan and just kind of having a good camaraderie with some of the different people there. And then I think some of the people that worked for Dynamite got wind of Nick's affiliation with just kind of palling around. And Nick and Ethan have known each other for a long time. They live not very far away from one another. So anyways, Nick got a lot of flack from other people for basically hanging out with what people thought were a biased group of creators or prejudiced. And unfortunately, the Hamsters Cyberfrog project kind of took a hit because Nick had to kind of make a choice whether he was going to appease one group of people that he worked with or another. And so our project got shelved and it's kind of in limbo. We had an art team that was working on it, and unfortunately it fell apart. So that to me, when I think of Comicsgate, I kind of think of people that are more conservative, right-leaning politically. I think Ethan has taken a lot of flack for, vocally supporting President Trump. And, that's kind of where I lean to. It doesn't mean that everybody that's in Comicsgate is a, supporter of Trump. But I see that most of the people that I hang out with kind of have the same belief system as I do. And they don't like feeling like they're being ostracized by liberals. And that's kind of what I've seen, even though you read my work and you can see that I'm not, bashing anybody over the head, and I'm not being politically incorrect. I'm just having a good time like I was back in the 90s, and I want to bring humor back because we don't have a Mad Magazine or Cracked anymore. So when I do a comic book, I'm not out to burn any bridges. I just want to have fun. So I kind of stay in the lane where if I do a stream, I'm not really talking about the hot button topics that other people might be talking about. But I can say that the people that I affiliate with, they are vocally Comicsgate, and what they think that means may be different than what I'm telling you right now. So yeah, just like Eric says, Eric is a very, very big supporter of what we do at Parody Press. And, I didn't know that's where he stood. But I think it got a bum rap. I think there's a lot of people that are doing great comics, and a lot of the other comic book community is just, I'm sorry, I got a guy mowing my lawn outside. Okay. They just kind of pigeonhole Comicsgate as this group of racist, sexist people, and I found that to be totally not the case with the people that I hang out with. And you just see these tweets from people just saying comics group is a hate group, and I've never had that experience. I've seen...
Don, maybe not explicit racism, although I've seen it, in that crowd. We've seen it on the show, but I will say explicit sexism, explicit homophobic sentiments and comments. So like, I see those things, and I don't think that means that's the end of the world per se, but it's not something I would want to be associated with. Definitely. Like if the only connection I see to Comicsgate and your stuff is like those couple of variant covers, maybe in this book. There's no like explicit Comicsgate stuff that I can recall. And I just think, you have to make a choice, and you've made a financial choice. I feel like that you can sell more books by selling to that audience. And I'm not making a moral judgment on you for that. Maybe I am a little bit in my heart, but like, you got to go where you got to go to sell books. I really understand that. And I don't see you preaching, like I said, the worst of it, but there is the whole like, oh, you fellas, when you call each other homos and when you make little jokes about being too feminine and how girls won't read comics, does that get under your skin at all, or do you feel that way too?
I don't know. I mean, when I grew up, if you read the Hamsters, it was very irreverent and very kind of undergroundy, and I had a lot of jokes that probably wouldn't fly if I released the Hamsters today. There was a lot of borderline humor that when we were growing up was fine. A lot of the movies that we watched, Airplane,
True,
Woody Allen, the old Saturday Night Live stuff, that stuff would probably not really go over well anymore. So
are you kidding? Woody Allen just released a new movie, Don, and it made $24,000 in its opening weekend last weekend.
With that, Woody Allen made a $24,000 grossing movie. Wow.
Yeah,
that's sad.
Because of this, I don't want to use the term Overton window, but I just did. So that has like shifted over time of like what is considered acceptable speech and what is not. And I'm sure somebody of your heritage can appreciate that too, because there was a time when like it was definitely more acceptable to make anti-Chinese type slurs. And even in the area that you and I both lived on, there was a rich history of anti-Chinese discrimination, which I'm sure you're aware of.
Oh, yeah.
And how that's shifted over time. So this is just where I go, like, it just feels like the Comicsgate guys are kind of like older dudes kind of just stuck in that 80s and not willing to accept kind of that some of these things have made ideas may have passed them by.
Here's where I think because I'm kind of new to the whole Comicsgate community. I've only been really involved probably for the last year and a half. I might have come in and not known a lot about what the big hubbub was with, earlier conversations, because the people that I communicate with and that I'm interacting with lately, I don't sense the sexist. I mean, I'd like to see specific examples of either tweets or programming where the creators that you're, that are upsetting you have said, and maybe, I don't know if they were taking.
I mean, dude, you don't have to look far to find an an extremely sexist or homophobic statement from Ethan Van Sciver in specific, and he is the figurehead right now of that movement to the point that you're putting him on the cover of your comics. And again, Don, I like you. I really do. I just feel, and I'm glad that we can have an honest discussion like this, because I really want to know.
That's good. That's good. I think the dialogue is good, and rather than just kind of have this one-sided opinion and not having a conversation, that's the key to, I think, having some kind of mutual middle ground between the two factions that they are. But honestly, I'm just here to make comics, and even though, I'm affiliated with Comicsgate, I've seen that, you think maybe it's the way to, make more money, but actually I've seen a lot of people say, I'm not going to support you because you are this way, and I'm not going to hire you to write my books because you're this way. So I've seen prejudice from the other side too, and I don't think that really gets thrown out there. And my wife and I are both we're pretty mild people. We don't really we're pretty mellow, and we like to get along and love people, and that's why I love being on your shows, because I know I might have this uncomfortable conversation, but at the same time, it's healthy, and as long as we respect one another, what's the harm in that? I think when I respect you,
and I'm not afraid to say these things here, just like you're not afraid to sometimes, ding me a little on Twitter or whatever, like to call my attention to some of my stuff, and that's okay. I want to bring in another guy here.
Oh, can I was just going to say, can I say something to Don real fast? Like, I admire that you are even addressing this, because I'm like an unindicted co-conspirator. All this stuff happened way after I started really paying attention to comics. So I'm like you, like, I don't even know what the big deal is. And me personally, I don't care about anybody's politics and comics or whatsoever. Good, like, I just want to, are you doing a good comic? Then that's great. And once you start parsing somebody like you that's doing parody and humor and stuff like that, then there's a whole like, well, that's not funny, then comes into it. And I really admire you even trying to deal with this at all. I would get so frustrated. It's like, hey man, can we just talk about my comic? Like,
this is liberal Larry from San Francisco.
So yeah, it was a simpler time before the internet made it possible for us to automatically say what we were thinking, because back in the 80s and 90s, there was no internet. I mean, we were basically dial-up modems and CompuServe, and now it's just like,
comic book letter columns.
Exactly. You would have to submit your stuff and wait snail mail to get a response. It wasn't like you could upload your stuff and get a response right away.
So one more thing before we bring in our other guy is like, why? So what? The next question I have is, what do you get out of saying I'm associated with anybody? It's like any group is going to have supporters and detractors. And my idea of comics was always more like Warren Ellis's, like, we come in alone, right? Everybody has an idea of what that comic is because you don't read it in a stadium. You read it by yourself. So I don't see the value, besides commercial value, of saying that you're associated with any group, because you're going to piss off half the audience by doing that.
Yeah.
So I was just, so that's why I admire you, because you're like, it's almost like a stand you're making, right?
There's some
I just wanted to put up with the real.
All right.
This is it. This is the real. I mean, there's no other reason than to sell more books. Comic Kid has a targeted audience that if you can market to them, and throughout their community, Don brings in people and promotes their comics, and he sells his comics to that crew. So I get it. And when I put these dollars up, guys, I love dollars, right? Like, that's the thing. I love them. I love them. So but I also like to be really clear about like where my own motivations are coming from, because I really considered, like, if I just was willing to like jump on that bandwagon, I'm pretty sure I'd have more subscribers. I definitely have more super chats and more views. And I just couldn't buy in, just because I'm fundamentally opposed to some of the biggest things that the biggest people there love to talk about. In all honesty, I see Comicsgate as a troll movement more than an artistic movement. Because there's not an artistic like cohesion amongst the books that are coming out from them per se, other than their avowed lack of politics, which I don't know if a lack of that. I don't even know. It's a tricky question, but I will say this, Don, I'm not canceling you. I'm not othering you. I like you. I respect you. I want to meet you in person. I want to hang out with you. I want to talk comic books with you, because I know you love comics. I just feel like the only way we're going to get back in to reality, we can't just say everybody forget it, like let's be friends. We have to find these common ground. And that's honestly why one of the reasons I started the show, and one of the reasons I've reached out to the wide variety of people that that I've reached out to.
Yeah.
Okay. Speaking of
admire
which, I want to bring in another guy who's been waiting patiently, and we can talk about his comics, and we can talk about all this stuff too. And we still haven't even got to Mal's yet. So let's bring in, I only know him by Shlepzig, but his real name is Sam Blanchard. Welcome to the show, Sam.
Hey, how you doing?
Or should we call you Shlepzig today?
You can call me whatever you want.
Sam is easier
my
to
name is
spell.
Sam. It's no secret. Pen name is Shlepzig. I coach high school sports, and so some of my material is not necessarily what I want my parents to find.
Okay.
Which is why I've covered up my high school logo on my
Okay.
coaching sweater with a big booty girl sticker.
That makes sense because I read all the stuff you sent me, Sam Shlepzig, and there's penises in this thing, right? And there's sex in this thing, and but man, I'm not just blowing smoke up your ass here. I loved it. I loved every bit of it.
That is so good to hear.
The writing, especially, but then the artwork is top notch too.
Oh, thank you.
Let's just get into it. I want to look at it a little bit, and you can we can talk about it.
I love talking about me.
I know. Why wouldn't you? So let's gently.
I mean, you had me on your show before, and I talked about me all the time.
We loved you. You were great on the show before, and honestly, I wasn't sure. I hadn't read enough of your stuff. I knew I liked your art style for sure.
Well, I'm really new. I'm like my second year as drawing after 30 years in a corporate cage. So
Really? Wow.
yeah.
I couldn't tell. I thought I did look you up, Sam, on YouTube after we interacted yesterday, and I like your artwork. It has a lot of energy.
Let's look at some of these prints. He's got a style that's familiar but not super derivative. Like you can kind of see maybe some influences in it from maybe, I don't know, I want to say like a Von Bode or maybe some of the other underground dudes.
There's some of that. It's sort of a weird mix. I mean, Bill Sienkiewicz and Ashley Wood are big influence in the modern world. But artistically, I kind of come from a very classic background with Maxwell Parrish and your classical illustrators, going back there in classical construction. Okay. So you've got this mix of different kind of conflicting styles, but it comes together.
Oh man, does it? And
if you like what I do, there's a lot of it, I guess. Die
cut stickers. Love this lobster jaw
Terminator. That's great. That's
postcard. Right. And the stickers, though, die cut stickers. This is the secret to a solid $1 Million Mailbox review, guys. Is it's all about the stickers.
Elatori's love. Don't sue me, Hasbro.
I love this one,
Mattel.
Little glare there, but this is from the Image Grand Disaster, right?
Yeah.
Okay, Call Me Chicken. We'll look at that in a minute. We'll look at your book, Chicken, and the Jurassic
painfully stalled Kickstarter on Chicken.
But definitely our favorite has to be the Kerminator.
The Kerminator. I woke up one morning and that popped into my head, and I couldn't do anything until I drew it.
I hear the mashup voice in my head.
Come with me if you want to live.
Exactly.
Okay, so this is great. You draw pretty pictures, Sam. Well, that's wonderful. I've seen a lot of guys draw pretty pictures that can't draw comics. Okay, so let's put Shlepzig to test. My number one test of comics that have jokes in them is they must make me laugh. Your stuff made me laugh multiple places.
Oh, that's excellent to hear.
And I will point out my favorite joke of the whole thing that I think is going to play really well to our audience and reviewers. I'll point that out when we get there. But this is the Shlepzig collection number 1. Why don't you just tell us what this is and what it represents? Because I think it's a great idea.
It is a whole lot of things. So as I was, learning how to do cartooning, and kind of learning the narrative thing. I did a bunch of shorts and fan pieces and experiments, and they're all in there. And so I was getting ready for what was it? I think GalaxyCon in North Carolina, and I only had Red out, and I was like, I just got one book and I got to do something. And then I looked through my archives and realized I had like 80 pages of just random stuff that I've done. So I formatted it all, put it on Amazon print on demand, and Shlepzig collection number 1. Shlepzig collection number 2 is being assembled.
And here's Red, by the way. This was your 24-hour Comics Day comic that you cheated and did in 32 hours or something like that. So
32 hours plus a lot of do-overs. There's a lot of mulligan in there.
Okay, so I immediately discredited it and threw it out because like you broke the. No, this is Sam. This is to do this in 32 hours. To do this in 32 days is an achievement to me. I couldn't do it. Give me 32 years. I'm not going to put out something like this because the artwork is good. The layouts. This is where you excel, Sam. I love your layouts. They're unconventional, yet they read extremely well. Like it's really easy to tell what's going on in panel to panel. Yet
a lot of that was me just kind of learning on the fly.
Yeah. Well, it shows that you've read some good comics, I think, at least, because I don't know how you could.
I think I stopped reading comics at the right time.
Maybe that's
I just in reference to Don, that black and white explosion at the end of the 80s was when I was seriously finishing my engineering degree and kind of checked out of comics in the early 90s. And so I missed the entire Image era and everything else along with it.
That might be good. Although, I will say that of the Image people, and you did a Keith Giffen homage, right?
Yeah.
You did a Trencher book, if I believe. And
yeah.
I see a Keith Giffen-esque
Trencher influence.
Yeah.
I did that in
color, and this one is spot
image.
color. But when we go back to the other book, I mean, it's a full color book.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that spot red better than 4-color comics, honestly. If you're doing a cool thriller or crime thing.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Well, I'm traditionally a black and white artist. I don't, I dabble in color, and I really don't know much about it.
Well, I think you do because you don't overdo it. This is a full color comic, but there ain't much full color per se in it, other than here's the opening page just to prove that you could have used every Crayola in the box if you wanted to.
A lot of that is photos, so
yeah, but that's what I mean. Like printing wise, you had choices to make, and you went for a deliberate aesthetic, which is primarily black and white with like spot color.
Mm-hmm.
But you choose different colors that are thematically appropriate to the story you're doing, and it's not just single spot color. Also, I loved some of these ones. I love the choice of going in different shades of green.
Yeah, Ranks of Rocks is so much fun.
There's one in here. Oh, here's not more full color stuff just to prove you can do it.
Yeah, that was from the Image Grand Disaster pages.
Yeah, let's look at that for a sec if we can. If I can figure out how to do this. Yeah, here we go. Yeah, you went full color and you're pulling it off. Put it that way.
Well, it's awfully kind of you to say so, because I
love some of the ones. There's one in here. Oh man, this one is so great.
Yeah, that was like a 1-hour page.
Wow,
that's beautiful.
Sam, really do you work traditionally or digitally?
Both. So I draw everything like on paper. I just interacting with ink on paper is the way I do it. And then I scan it in and I add the textures and tones. And there's a lot of collaging things together digitally. Yeah. Oh, now this is a really fun piece you got here.
Yeah.
This is written by a friend of mine, He does the Discordia comics, and this was a part of an anthology he did of poems that he wrote. And when he printed this out of the Rotted Liar, he wasn't able to use like the illustrated lettering that you see, like that, big F and stuff, the big illustrated, illuminated letters, because he wanted it to match the rest of the stories. And so when he gave me permission to reprint this in the collection, I asked him if I could use like the original lettering, and he was like, yeah, that would be awesome because it looks great. He just couldn't use it in his comic. So yeah, that's the Rotted Liar in the Discordia series, which is a really cool horror thing. He's got some fantastic artists on there.
Discordia. I wanted to put, you brought up lettering. I love your lettering throughout. Never got taken out of it with bad kerning. Ooh, I hate that bad kerning so much. It bothers me.
Hey, Sam, did you can you go back one page?
Yeah.
Dan, yeah, is that Discordia? Is that kind of a Sam Keith influence?
I mean, I love Sam Keith. I don't know if there's a Sam Keith influence on this.
Kind of looks like the Max to me.
Yeah, it was one of the creatures from the story. I didn't design the creature. Somebody else designed it, and I drew it, because it was just such a cool design.
I like it. It reminds me of like more maybe a realistic version of, do you remember Gossamer from the Looney Tunes cartoons?
Oh, the big red thing. Yeah.
Yeah, the big red.
Monsters are the craziest peoples. Sam, I loved it. I honestly went through. Okay, now here we go. Joke of the book. This is it. This is the one where I read this and I said, Don, I laughed a couple times in yours, but I did not laugh as hard as I laughed at this moment. Let me just bring it here. Gosh, it was so funny. It's this Mystique, obviously, and Kitty Pryde. And she's saying, I'm not evil. I have morally ambiguous motivations that serve my own interests. And she says, your belt is made of skulls, not happy bunnies. I loved it. I laughed so much about them because who hasn't thought about those stupid skulls on Mystique's belt, right? So you got me there as an old school comics guy, and you pulled me with the humor, Sam. You got me with the style, and then to bring it all home, I was like, "Where's the price tag? There's no price tag back here." But then I look on the front and I see $10.
What a bargain!
$10. You put this at a convention. How many pages? 100?
It's like 80 some.
80. So
wow.
DC's selling full color 80-page giants right now for $9.99. I would buy this all day long before I buy one of those pieces of garbage. This is beautiful stuff. Oh, and the paper stock. Don, as much as glossy stock is good, man, look at how great this looks on the $1 Million Comics cam. Just
very nice.
That flatness. Did you have a choice of paper stocks, or was it pretty much dictated?
No, this is from Amazon. Does the printing on this, and they have very limited paper choices. I opted for just the flat paper, and I think it really works with the material.
It does, man.
As a creator, I find this is such cool pages. This is from the Weapon Ek collaboration from 100% Comics.
You're in that one too. I have a friend that's working on that.
Yeah, that was so much fun.
Great stuff. I loved it. Rick Veitch is putting out his comics Amazon print on demand.
And as I would recommend it highly to a lot of creators, because it solves one of those really serious problems we have right now is the international shipping problem. Because international shipping costs an arm and a leg these days, right? If I wanted to ship, if I print a comic, I go to Greco and I get my comic, I've got it, I want to ship it to Canada, just over the border, and I'm going to have to ask somebody to spend $35 on my $10 comic.
Right.
Yeah, not going to work.
And, if someone is spending $35 on my comic, which I find very ingratiating, is fantastic, I would like to be the person that gets most of that.
Totally.
as opposed to just the margin that I get.
How is it Amazon's able to do that? Because maybe they actually can print it closer to the
They
source.
print in country. So
yeah, when they mail it, that's
so they mail it in country. Like guys in Australia can buy this, and Japan, and wherever.
Yeah, amazing.
And I don't get to sign it or anything, but I get a very small cut of that, but I also don't have to touch it.
Right. Right.
They ship it, they package it, they print it, they get it out to the person, they make sure it gets there. They do all the heavy lifting, and so I lose a cut of the profits, but I don't have to say no to a fan now.
These digital prints turned out really nice.
Oh yeah, I love that.
So let me just out of nowhere, I'll ask you guys all, what about NFTs?
Oh man,
I have some NFTs, but I mean they're a gimmick. I mean it's a kind of it's Danish tulips from the 1600s. It's the same kind of bubble. It's nice. If I were a digital artist, a fully digital artist, I'd really be leveraging NFTs, because
I think so.
When people want to say they want to buy like an original, and there is no original, there's a chance for them to give me money, and I love it when people give me money. But so my corporate cage previously was in international banking, and I see all the games of like the currency.
So you have no problem grifting people out of their hard-earned savings.
Yeah. Well, I was on the engineering side managing facilities.
So you can grift them out of their money at a super high rate of speed. That's awesome.
But I was always in the loop with the banking, because I had to respond to whatever financial trends were with high frequency trading and things like that, and make sure our facilities strategy was correct with that business. But I saw firsthand like all the money is real or imagined. Money's all a scam. So NFTs aren't really any more of a scam than anything else, but
Bingo.
They're a scam. But so is anything else.
Bingo. Exactly. So is the US dollar to some degree, right? Like everything is a scam. It's all
fiat currency is fiat currency. The main thing with NFTs and cryptocurrency is that it's unregulated. And because it's unregulated, it is subject to a lot of manipulation and other scams that you can't do with other currencies, which is part of the reason why it's so popular. People are making a lot of money speculating in it.
True.
Which
it's democratized the scam, though. It's like before only the Fed was involved. It was allowed to perpetuate that scam, and now it's like anybody can run their own grift.
Well, I mean, financial markets and things like that are more complicated than a soundbite.
They are.
Put in simple terms, like all fiat currencies are more or less the same. This one just has cryptocurrencies have no laws around them.
Yeah.
So people are out there like the Wild West. They're trying to make their money the way they make their money.
True. Some people would say that's a feature, not a bug. Anyway, we got to move on though, because we got one more thing, and I'm glad you guys are all here so we can all talk about.
I'm just excited. There's other folks here without beards, Dan.
Larry, I want to know give me your elevator assessment of NFTs, and then we'll move on to Mouse.
Oh, it's rubbish. NFTs are like buying a stereo and then selling the receipt you got. You know what I mean? It's like it's a unit, right? But it's like I can't use my item without showing the numbers on the. I mean, who cares? Like you're gonna get like lots of cool tech heads on both coasts, and a few guys in Austin, Texas will think it's really cool for like the next 18 months, and then no one else will remember what that stands for.
Could be. They say, although, man, I remember what they said about Bitcoin. I was an early adopter, and everybody told me when I was telling them to buy it. I told him to buy it 100. I told him to buy it 300. I told him to buy it 1,000. Nobody listened. So you never know. It's hard to say. I think anything that's
if it doesn't matter to you, it doesn't matter, right? Like you can tell people I made all this money on selling Magic cards, and they'll go, "Okay, that's cool, right on." It's not like something that people already fundamentally get. like coins or stamps.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like Don said, it's tulips and Beanie Babies and Pogs, man.
Fundamentally, how is it different than sports cards, right?
Right.
I mean, a sports card like a Mickey Mantle #1, whatever, is worth however many thousands of dollars. Fundamentally, it's not good for much of anything.
It's only worth what someone else will pay for.
Yeah,
for sure.
And NFTs are the same things. Any kind of collector thing, you've got some kind of ownership that says it's worth something to somebody else.
I look at it a little more like, I don't know, signed and numbered prints. Sam, like that's kind of what it is, right? There's only so many of these, and there's only so many that are signed, and there's a serial number on it, right? So like that's pretty much, anybody can now screen cap this and even turn it into an NFT if they wanted to.
They can go to my Instagram and find that and download it and print their own copy. I can't realistically stop anyone from doing that.
Okay.
That's what happened with the John Byrne thing, where he's doing his copyright violation X-Men thing, and he just puts it up and people print them out and make books of them themselves.
That's
and Marvel doesn't get a penny.
That's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Don, how many NFTs, how many hamster NFTs are coming out? When's the Beardzzerker NFT?
I haven't even looked into that. I mean, I'm so busy with my other job. I know some creators are making money, but I agree with everybody else's assessment. I think it's just a passing fad. But my wife is very savvy on the Bitcoin and that stuff. So if she said let's do it, I might give it a second thought.
Don, you're busy feeding into the Humboldt County real estate bubble, Eddie. One bubble at a time, please. Right.
Right. Yeah. Okay. I don't do
so
comics full time. Otherwise.
Let's get into Mouse. Let's get into the controversy a little bit, guys. We all know the story. It's been all over social media and the news and stuff. Although I honestly don't think that it has been extremely accurately reported on, or definitely not extremely accurately understood. First of all, people think like, oh, they banned Mouse in Tennessee. Okay, no, right? They didn't ban it throughout. There's one school district.
McMinn County,
right, which is known as the conservative county.
It's a very conservative county. It's vanishingly small. It's about 54,000 residents in the county.
Okay. I have tons of friends in Tennessee, by the way, including people who just moved there in the last couple of years. Love people from Tennessee. Love Tennessee. Okay. This county in Tennessee, I don't want to move to, but let's be real about what they did. They didn't ban Mouse, okay? They said, we want to replace Mouse in the curriculum of this school district with another Holocaust theme book that doesn't have a naked lady in it and doesn't like say shit once. Very flimsy.
Yeah.
And then I looked at the actual transcript of the school board, and for the most part, they were like, yeah, can't we just find one that doesn't have a naked chick in it? Then I have no problem as long as it doesn't have mouse boobs in it. Like, we're okay.
I mean, they were reading the transcripts. I got the impression they were definitely looking for enough justification that they could get rid of this book. And the goal was to get rid of the book. They started with the goal, want to get rid of this book out of the curriculum. And they kind of reverse engineered their argument, because they had educators that were speaking up in support of the book, and the Board of Education or whoever it was, the school was like, yeah, that's great, but this guy drew stuff for Playboy. Isn't that too distracting to the students?
Yeah, right.
He won the Pulitzer, but he drew a cartoon in Playboy. Aren't the students going to know all about that and like be completely distracted by?
Just like Shel Silverstein, right? Like, well, how could who has also been banned in schools, by the way.
So they were. You read the transcript; they're clearly looking for a justification to remove Mouse from the curriculum.
And there was one guy in there, one guy on the school board who's like, and they show like children being hung and people getting shot. Haven't we seen enough of this? Isn't that a little like? completely missing 1,000% missing the point.
Can't we make the Holocaust a little friendlier?
Yeah.
You know,
well, they did their best.
I hate the idea that the Holocaust is being taught as an unpleasant experience for people. I'd like it to be more welcoming.
Well, I got 2 books here today to look at. We got The Complete Mouse. This is book 1 and 2 of Mouse. And I also brought this along, Meta Mouse, which is a wonderful book about sort of just all the backstory of Mouse, which is great. And it comes with a CD-ROM that you just can't use anymore. Like, I don't even have a disk drive in my computer, let alone, so it's like there's a ton of stuff on this disc that I might never see again. But the book itself is beautiful. So much material about the creation, the backstory of Mouse. It's definitely worth looking at. I just wanted to show it. But the real book. So I've got The Complete Mouse. This is both books in one from Pantheon. It is a gorgeous volume. I would say this is probably my second favorite graphic novel of all time, after From Hell, maybe, is Mouse. And they're both right up there in the same strata of incredible work put out. Like the level of intention and thought put into this work, just like From Hell. It's astounding that it even got created.
And I think that would be the only legitimate argument they would have against Mouse being in the curriculum, was that it was such a personal conversation with Art Spiegelman and his father, as much as it was the family history with the Holocaust.
Honestly, it is that more than it is about the Holocaust, although there's so much history in it too. You're right. It's that
the argument that there is too much personal information in there and not enough historical information in there is the only place I could say that they had any reasonable argument, but they didn't even care about that.
Oh yeah, and it's impossible to separate the two stories in here too.
Yeah.
The word that came to mind when I was rereading this again is just humanity.
Yeah.
Mouse is about humanity, right? And its ugliness and its unflinching look at even his father, even Vladek. His flaws are not just mentioned, they are glaringly pointed out, right? He was a victim of the Holocaust, but he was a racist. He is extremely racist, and he is it's stereotypically cheap, like to the point of absurdity, to the point where, because he has free gas in his apartment, he will leave the burner on 24/7 rather than waste a match and light it every day. And Spiegelman really points out how obviously this comes from deep trauma associated with the Holocaust and everything else, but doesn't shy away from how it really put a strain on their personal relationship with his wife and their friends and everything. It's amazing. And then graphically, I mean, the pureness of the cartooning and his ability to stick to this format when he can draw so well and draw in so many different styles that it's he found it limiting himself. He was very wait a minute, I want to zoom in on this a little bit. He was very kind of felt hamstrung by it, felt kind of like he wanted to stretch his limbs sometimes, but he had to work on this for so many years.
Oh no, I see a lot of Harriman in this.
Yeah, for sure.
In the style and the emotion on relatively simple characters.
Yeah, this kind of, I mean, yeah, to go to this really simplified format and then to reach out and really talk about it even too. I wanted to pull up in book 2. Okay, he draws himself. And this is where the book starts to get super meta, because when he draws himself as the cartoonist, it's him wearing a mask of a mouse, because he doesn't really feel like, in some ways, he doesn't feel really Jewish. and also feels that it's just like a persona he's putting on. But at the same time, he's torn by the horror of the Holocaust. And I just want, this part is really great. So the reporters start coming in, right? And as we know in Mao's, wait a minute, the Americans are dogs, right? And the pigs are Poles. The Polish people are pigs, and the French are frogs. So here's the American people coming in. Tell our viewers what message you want them to get from our book. He goes, a message? I don't know. I never thought of reducing it to a message. I mean, I wasn't trying to convince anybody of anything. I just wanted, and then the Germans come in. Your book is being translated into German. Many younger Germans have had it up to here with Holocaust stories. These things happened before they were even born. Why should they feel guilty? Right? So how familiar is that to the narrative in McMinnon County and all this stuff we're seeing about, like, don't you teach my kids to feel guilty about their heritage and the things that were done so long ago, right? I mean, it's we're seeing it happen again here, like it's probably happened in Germany. These things are rising and falling throughout time. Like, it's a little bit scary to me.
Dan, that's not just the South, though. I mean, you know, the thing in San Francisco where the school board like got it into their head in the middle of the pandemic to rename 54 schools in the city because, you know, like down to like Washington and Lincoln and
Lincoln. Yeah.
It's like, you know, okay. So it's not just the South. I mean, this is happening in the world for some reason, that stuff is just splitting into two sides. And I don't know.
Well, I mean, on the face of that, I know we had the same thing in our community. Where they, you know, renamed the school, you know, because the person it was named after was a slave owner, and you know, there's a lot of that trying to, you know, assuage their own feelings about the history of slavery and racism in America, and you know, it's a difficult question, because you know that is factually part of our history. You know, Western culture is largely built on the ashes of other cultures, and
the blood and bones of many indigenous cultures, right?
You know, and even here in the U.S., we were, you know, given a certain kind of jingoistic indoctrination in our education. I mean, when I was in high school, they completely glossed over things like the concentration camps of the Japanese internment. You know, the genocide of, you know, the First Nations of America and things like that, where, you know, kind of bad decisions we made in the Western expansion.
Yeah. Tuskegee Airmen and other things, the race riots in Kansas City and all the things that, like, I didn't hear about in history class.
Yeah. You know, the you know, the Tulsa massacre. Those are
that's
things
what I'm talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. Those are all things that were glossed over in our education historically. Those were things that were significant events. And, you know, so, you know, looking back, we have to kind of see where our own level of indoctrination happened. And, you know, at what point did we start to understand, you know, the wider narrative of American history on our own? And do we want to let that narrative be narrowed down even further to eliminate the you know, the antebellum states and the you know, history of slavery in the formation of the country?
I honestly feel like some people experience cognitive dissonance because they were raised in a way they didn't hear these stories in history class. They were very, I include myself in these, like very susceptible to jingoism and just like America is the greatest because it's America, and to really gloss over those things. And then when you start to hear and when you start to learn about the history and people start to go like, oh, it wasn't as simple as you think. For some people, it really goes against everything they were ever taught in school and everything they ever learned.
Well, that's where the term woke,
or they just feel negative about it.
You know, the term, you know, woke was when you wake up to the actual history of, you know, the Western culture in America. when you see the broader picture. And, that's been, in the African American culture for a long time is, when they wake up to their history is different than the rest of America's history. So that's where that term comes from. And I think a lot of people are still in that unwoke state and they're resisting it. They don't want to be there because there's a lot of unpleasant stuff that you have to think about there.
Or I feel like, yeah, it is like you feel a guilt in your head for, I didn't know this stuff. And then that guilt is incompatible with your feelings that America is the bastion of freedom and we only do things that promote freedom and equality. Yeah. Right. When the history tells us exactly the opposite for most of America's history.
Yeah. Well, like I'm originally from Oregon and the Pacific Northwest where the Japanese internment camps were. And, that America did that. And I wasn't taught that in school. I learned about it in passing a little bit on my own research. I learned about it a lot more when I got my first engineering job and I worked for two men who had grown up in the internment camps. That they were from Japanese families and, their homes were taken, their businesses were taken. They were shipped off to camps as children.
So Larry, this guy's talking, even in my hometown, we removed the statue of McKinley from our town square. We were the first town in America to remove a statue of a president, as far as I understand. And fucking I supported that. I cannot stand the lionization of politicians above all else. Like putting a guy on this pedestal, making a statue out of making him a god is actually something like the founding fathers didn't even want. They didn't want human beings on our coins because they didn't want us to invest too much importance in flawed humans.
Well, they said very specifically, they didn't want America to have a king.
Exactly. And we've gone the other direction.
That monarchy mindset.
Well, and now that's what people want. They want a god king to rule us all. Right, Don? One king to rule us all. Like, is that not the, like you're a Trump supporter. So like, is that not
he's not perfect, but I'm a Christian. So ultimately my faith is in a higher power, not in any one person. So even though I may support some of the policies that presidents have had, I don't want to put them on a pedestal, but they have to answer to a higher power, and that's not me.
Yeah. So do you feel like Trump is in line with your morals and values as a Christian?
Oh, a lot more so than Biden. So, I think that's kind of where the division is that
you got see it, man.
You've got your one faction here and there, but
I see one guy as a dude who born with a golden spoon in his mouth who did nothing but shit on people, and I see another guy. Biden's not I'm not a fan of Biden's policy or anything, but as just a man and a human and his story, I respect Joe Biden a lot more than I would respect Trump.
So that's where we can disagree. I mean,
yeah. I guess part of my I've worked in construction in New York for a long time. That was part of my facilities management in my previous life, and every contractor in New York either has been directly or has a close friend that has been bilked by the Trump company in any construction they did. So everyone in New York knew he was a total flim-flam artist from day one.
How could you not know? I mean, the guy oozes slimy. Like you look at him and just like a scumbag. So many divorces and all. Well,
I mean, all that aside, I mean, just like I said, from experience in construction, like we go to a contractor and we'd be talking, he's like, oh yeah, there was that time that I did work for Trump, and they came back, they paid me like half the invoice, and they said sue me for the rest.
Yeah, no one's perfect. What Eric said, I totally believe most of our government is corrupt. And
this is where we're aligned, Don.
And that's the thing about our guy from Pittsburgh that said the thing about, San Francisco's thing about renaming schools was woke. It absolutely wasn't. But you can't. This is why I don't talk politics with folks as a rule, because you can't. There's always going to be somebody that is more informed on the subject. So, but people will still fight, right? So, like, what's the point of having that conversation? It's
I mean, right now, I think political discourse is largely, it's Giants versus Eagles. All right. So you're an Eagles fan or you're a Giants fan and you really don't care. They may have a shitty team that year, but, you're an Eagles fan and you're going to be rooting for your team and you don't care.
Dude. I agree 100%.
It's sick. It's the two-party lock-in that we've got. We got to get past. We got to get the ranked choice voting or something.
There has to be like some significant reform to how we run elections, because they're essentially just popularity contests. And I mean, either party at this point could put a moldy sandwich on the ticket and still probably carry 40% of the vote.
This is what I'm saying. Absolutely. Yeah. It doesn't matter. Guys, I'm glad that we could talk about this. It's really cool to be able to talk to people that you don't agree with. It's just we don't get enough of it today. I get to have these arguments like with my brother. But I've got people that are really close to me who I respect deeply, who are Trump supporters or who are fundamental Christians or something in a way that I could never be. But like, I know the thing that nobody wants this country to be shitty. Everybody is making their decisions from a case like they want things to get better and they want things to be better. Like, and I just think the methodology some people want to use is a little crazy. I think actually the methodology both sides want to use sometimes is a little bit crazy.
I wanted to ask Sam, are you on social media, Sam? You said you have an Instagram?
I have Instagrams and I'm on Facebook and I'm on most of the social media. I have a vanishingly small Twitter presence. But Instagram is where I like put up most of my stuff. I've got a couple Instagram accounts.
All right. I want to look you up because I like to message you. Maybe I like to swap comics with you because I like what I see.
Oh, that would be awesome.
There you go.
What's your Instagram?
My comics Instagram is Shlepzig.comics. I've got a racier Instagram, Shlepzig.nsfw, where my figure drawings and pinups and just studies and things go up that have nudity, and everyone should be warned. So there's that. But yeah, if you Google Shlepzig, Shlepzig, as far as I know, I'm the only one on the internet. So anything you find is me.
Okay. Gotcha.
Until I become popular, and then there will be a bunch of like Shlepzigs or the myriad ways
with Schlep Rock, guys. Let's keep it Shlepzig.
I have to ask you, Sam, have you ever gone in Halloween as Uncle Fester?
No. I've been mistaken for Uncle Fester a number of ways. I had a referee at a fencing event say at one time, he's like, don't take this the wrong way, but you look a lot like Uncle Fester. And this very, very French referee, it was hilarious.
And he fence, so it's perfect.
And I remember when I was very young, my father went as Uncle Fester for a Halloween, but no, I just get mistaken for Uncle Fester, among other people. There's a long list of celebrities I've been mistaken for over the years.
Guys, I wanted to show this too. This is just to show Art Spiegelman drawn in a different style, like he draws in the middle of this book. Yeah. This is Prisoner of the Hell Planet.
Wow.
And he can draw in so many styles, and he's really just a super talented dude. I can't zoom out. No.
Yeah.
There we go.
Well, Dan, I have got to jet. I've got a bunch of high schoolers waiting for me to teach them how to stab each other.
All right.
I got to get out of here pretty soon too. Thanks,
thanks,
Sam, for
Sam.
coming in. I really mean it when I say I loved your stuff. I just want to say this: get a long story with a narrative through line and put all the jokes you put in there in your amazing style. And I'm buying that comic every time it comes out.
Yeah, well, Chicken is haltingly on the way. It was backed on Kickstarter, and there's just been a lot of like family biz that has gotten in the way of getting that done, and it seems that there are just a lot of roadblocks. It is on the forefront of my guilt spectrum of things that need to get done, or I need to light myself on fire. Let's see. That is my personal Instagram. I rarely use it. Just straight Shlepzig. There's a bunch of my fencing illustrations up there. But I very rarely do Shlepzig. Shlepzig.comics is where most of my work has been going lately.
Okay. Well, great. Thank you so much. Oh, and you're not safe for work Instagram. Very good.
And my NSFW.
Love it.
It's all behind an age wall. So you have to say that you're 18 to see it. And nobody on the internet ever lies. So
let me tell you, there's nothing. I read it all. It's tame stuff. You jack a couple penises here and there. There's a little bit of box munching, but it's okay.
There are some boobs. There are some other things that
Sam,
again, it's just not being the first Google hit when my parents looked me up.
Right. Well, thank you for the time, Sam. I really appreciate it. I know you got to go.
All right.
Thanks, Sam.
Well, thank you guys. It's great to be on again. Dan, just holler whenever you want somebody to talk too much.
You got it, buddy. See you around, Sam.
All right. Bye. Catch you later.
Bye, Sam.
Oh, man. Sam was
cool.
cool.
Dude. I like him.
Yeah, crack me up.
Super cool. Guys, I got to get us out of here pretty soon.
Right.
Don, I want to really thank you for your time today. I mean, I wasn't going to do a full mouse review or anything like this, but I want to recommend to everybody out there. It's one of those books that's not underrated, right? Can we agree on this, guys? Can all three of us agree on this?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Pulitzer Prize, right? They just
it's not overrated, is what I'm saying. Like, even like it is one of the most amazing, just even if you take the subject matter out of it, the mechanics of it and the cartooning skill and chops and storytelling is like as good as it gets to me.
I agree.
What's the cover price on that one that you got?
I don't know if this one's still in print, but this is the hardcover, complete Mouse. It looks like this was $35. So like a little bit thicker than Beardzzerker at 15. A little bit. But I'm happy to say this thing is doing really well. A guy I know from the Bay Area, Ryan Higgins, Comics Conspiracy, he has promised to give out 100 free copies to anyone in the McMinnville County area, I guess, that ask him for one. I thought that was pretty nice. And it's just one of those books that if they pull it from the Holocaust curriculum, okay, just put it in the English literature curriculum, I think, because it's just a great book.
Nice. I was going to ask Larry, what do you do full-time, Larry? Are you?
Well, full-time, I'm retired, I guess I'd have to say.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm a dad. I'm an internet wag. I do consulting.
There you go.
Pick up my stuff here and there.
What's the tie into like movie props? Are you a collector or?
Yeah, it's just I used to collect original art, but then I started publishing comics and I started not to love boards anymore. So I'm like, oh, what can I collect? And I just fell into movie props for some reason.
Okay. So what was your comics that you did?
So that's it. This is where the movie props come from. I've always loved astronauts. So I did Astronauts in Trouble. It was Charlie Adlard's first book before Walking Dead. So it gets some cool acclaim because that's how Kirkman knew him. And I published some other stuff.
A couple of things published. Warren Ellis, among others. Matt Fraction, early publisher. What's that DMZ dude's name?
Brian Wood.
First publisher, Brian Wood. Good books, Don.
Yeah, in the early 2000s, we were kind of like the big deal graphic novel publishers. A whole bunch of guys' first books. Gabriel Ba, who does Umbrella Academy. We did his first American work, so that was cool.
Nice.
Yeah. So, but I love the astronauts, so I started collecting spacesuits.
How do I reach you if I want to send you some of our books? Are you
you know what? We're at what's the easiest way to say this?
Email.
Yeah, I mean, I guess email. Yeah. You actually have it queued up, don't you?
I did.
Dan?
Not in this one though.
It's really weird.
Dan can message me your email or something.
All right, there you go. Yeah.
That'll work.
Okay, that one. Wait, here it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anybody, you can harass Larry Young at larry@aitplanetlair.com. Get on there and ask him why I've got to pay so much to get a copy of Warren Ellis's Switchblade Honey on the aftermarket.
That was one of our best-selling books, actually. You know, Warren Ellis doing his version of Star Trek. Back when
we're going to talk about it on this show real soon. I'm going to bring you in.
You know what? Brandon McKinney, the artist, is like the big deal director of the Harley Quinn animated show now. But I love him. He's like the nicest guy I know. We got to get him on the show because he did Planet of the Capes and Switchblade Honey at the same time. And there was a super cool reason for that.
Sweet.
So we'll talk about it on the show. We'll get.
Yeah, we're going to do that. In fact, because I got all my February interviews like rescheduled into March. They're all these bigwig types. Mm-hmm. So I think I'm just going to like once a week do a show and just start talking about comics that nobody's talking about or that I love or whatever.
Man, I'll send you our whole catalog from the old days.
Do it, dude. We'll do an AIT.
Somebody sent me an email and said, like, dude, do you see what True Facts is going for? And I'm like, what are you talking about? I saw on eBay, it was like $300. And I'm like, are you kidding me?
You should release them on print on demand, Larry. Yeah, all that stuff.
True Facts just worked in the 2000s. Yeah, like you could go on the internet and find anything that's in there.
That one's tough. Well, and all of you people out there, thank you for watching. Please send in your comics to the Million Dollar Mailbox, P.O. Box 1163, Arcata, California 95518. I mean, Don, you can testify to the $1 Million Mailbox bump that you received after our last show, right? It was like hockey stick time for the graph, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Is my nose growing?
Well, we're gonna make it happen, guys. Don, Larry, thank you very much. I'm gonna get us out of here. I'm gonna play the credits. Stick around if you want to chat afterwards. I got a few minutes too. If you do,
cool. Thanks, Dan.
Okay. Thank you, Larry.
Hi, everyone.
Thanks, guys. You guys are the best, man. Actually, I changed that. They're not the best. You're the best because you're still sticking around and watching this thing. Thank you so much. I super appreciate it. If you like this thing, click the thumbs up. If you didn't, click thumbs down. Leave a comment. Strongly worded if you want. I can take it. Believe me. So check us out. Send your books into the $1 Million Mailbox. Make sure to come back really soon. We're going to be talking with amazing guests. Like I said, we got Paul Levitz coming up. We got Mike Richardson coming up. You better believe I'm going to talk to him about concrete when I got Mike Richardson on here. Believe it. And we will see you. Oh, don't forget to stick around. We've got, as usual, we've got a special cameo at the end of the credits. Stick around for the credits so we pay our bills. And we will see you next time.
There is a game. Beyond it is another dimension. A dimension of words. A dimension of pictures. Journey into a wondrous land whose boundaries are that of imagination. There's a signpost up ahead. Your next stop? The Mother Box.